If I could wish for just one wish, I would wish for simply this, to pick an apple from my tree, made for sipping just for me.
Instead of juice, try new Tang apple flavor crystals with vitamin C added. A brand new Tang with fresh picked apple taste.
I just want to point out Stephanie here. Stephanie is also part of the reason we're here. She's just been wonderful helping us sort all this out, managing the menu and everything, and letting us in. Our first presenter this evening is the source of quite a lot of Donna's stand-up material, and the subject of a series of short stories that I found in Donna's Things, all titled "Only One of Us is Getting Out of Here Alive." I'm just going to take a minute to read one of these, an introduction. Food is always an iffy subject in my house. You're never quite sure what you're going to get. And by get, I don't mean what type of sustenance you might find, but rather to what you might contract by eating it. My mother is a hoarder of food. She is permanently preparing for an apocalypse that will call for an abundance of sauce. She doesn't stockpile crackers or pasta or canned soup or non-perishables. She hoards opened condiments. There are condiments in our fridge from before I was born. There is a half bottle of Ribena from 1976. I'm not sure if they even carry Ribena in Canada. I don't even know if they make the stuff. I think the unknown condiment is an aphrodisiac. Unlabeled jars of mysterious goo. If it's an unknown substance, we can probably serve it on a cracker. The majority of her collection comes from other people's fridges. When my father, who was something of a gourmand, died, I think the first thing she did was open his fridge to see what she could salvage. I'm pretty sure you could track the evolution of man through these condiments. Expiry dates are for amateurs. Mold is penicillin. Fermentation means we're just that close to an alcoholic beverage. I was the only kid in school who could get drunk on maple syrup. Most of the bottles and jars in our fridge are for decoration only. They are much too precious to be used for the likes of the people who live in the house. They need to be doled out in measured amounts to company, a practice that I'm positive will one day end in a lawsuit. The most popular unsafe food in our fridge is dairy. Cheese is a hot commodity, so it's often hidden, and when it's shared, yields the familiar markings of my mother's old serrated kitchen knife. It's just such a dairy product that I'm pretty sure is responsible for me being lactose intolerant today. An affliction I'm 90% positive is psychological. I love milk. Delicious, creamy, filling milk. I could drink milk all day long. Big, huge glasses of it. And I can actually attest to this. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen, is a woman drinking a liter of milk in a sitting. Sometimes I drink it directly from the bag. Again, true. Standing there with the fridge door hanging open. The idea of there actually being milk in the house that could have lasted long enough to go bad is an alien concept. It's simply not feasible. But imagine our surprise when we happened upon that bag. We didn't know what to do. It was chunky and gross and needed to be gone. My mother, however, had an entirely different opinion. Spoiled milk was clearly impossible. It couldn't be bad. But mind you, my mother had not tasted milk in 20 years. She herself developing an aversion to it in her late teens. Late one night while I was sleeping, my mother came up with a plan. She would blend the milk with ice cream and make me a milkshake. I would never know the difference. And that's what she did. I remember her producing these from the freezer with pride. They were offerings. They were treats. Ice cream milkshakes laid out before me with a reverence usually reserved for exotic things like brie or root beer. To say that the result was disgusting is an insult to the word disgusting. Sour, chunky cottage cheese milkshakes were the result. It was years later when I unearthed something other horrid from my mother's fridge that I remembered, and I brought them up, wondering if she'd tell me why this seemed like a good idea at the time. Her response was, "It's like making a milkshake out of sour cream." Only one of us is getting out of here alive. Ladies and gentlemen, Donna's mother, Peggy Mon.
I have to tell you that I don't remember any of that. But I do think that that is a very good example of what Donna inherited from her father, and that is the art of exaggeration. Actually, there was one true thing in that. I used to keep maple syrup in the fridge, and I loved maple syrup. I poured it over ice cream. I poured it over almost anything but pancakes, because pancakes were fattening, don't you know? But maple syrup wasn't fattening, so you could have maple syrup anytime you wanted and as much of it as possible. Yes, and we all know this, and I used to give my sister some too. Yes. So that's the only thing that I recognize in that letter. That's true. Okay, now I want to thank you all for your wonderful tributes to Donna on her Facebook page. They were amazing. Thank you. And Michael tells me that I only have 9 minutes, and I've already... Thank you, darling, because I've already used up too much defending myself from your insensitive reading of that. Okay. Anyway, how can I squeeze all the many lives of Donna into just 9 minutes? It's interesting that several of us have mentioned the fact that Donna had several lives, and I can attest to the truth of that. There were so many Donnas. Most of you know the singer and performer and comedian, but there was also the truck mechanic, the plumber, the mischief maker, and we've seen that in several of those snaps of that mischief in her eyes, the cordon bleu chef, and my daughter. What do you do? Okay, I'm going to be okay. When you have been given a magical gift to love and care for. Well, I was distraught most of the time because I didn't want to misstep. But thank you. Now I can't see. Take that away. I already have that. Thank you. Misstep. Yes, where was I? Right here. But I needn't have worried because Donna had her own agenda from the very beginning. And thank God I had lots of you to help. Okay. Her birthday was auspicious. She was born on the Ides of March. Julius Caesar, the Ides of March, ring a bell with anybody? Yeah, there you go. Okay. I know, because I was there. She was in a great hurry, too. The doctor left, believing that it would be several hours before the actual birth. Wrong! He barely made it back in time to slide across the delivery room floor, open his arms, and catch her as she shot out. Look out, world, here she comes! We named her Donna after both her granddad, Don Mann, and her grandmother, Donna Morris, both of whom adored her. She loved to play cards with her grandmother and sit on her granddad's lap for stories and hugs. She also loved her Auntie Mary. They were kindred spirits. My sister was shocked to find Donna not wearing pretty pink frilly outfits when she came to visit. The picture of Donna dressing herself, which I exclaimed and stopped traffic in the room when that was up, that wonderful picture in the pink frilly outfit was Donna dressing herself for the first time. You may not have noticed, but she was trying to put both legs into one leg hole, which was why the pants weren't up, because only one leg is supposed to fit into a leg hole.
She did that in college, too.
You wait till you have to speak. Get out of here. Go. This girl is now banned from this room. The picture of Donna dressing herself for the first time marked the beginning of Donna's love for clothes. And it's all my sister's fault because you gave her that outfit. She was asserting her agenda. And she gravitated to pretty things like a compass seeking true north. Despite the fact that her father moonlighted as a cook and caterer, when his voice/acting gigs fluctuated, it was Aunt Mary who inspired her love of cooking, long before she went to the Cordon Bleu school in Ottawa. Donna used to sit in Aunt Mary's kitchen at the farm, or as I call it, the chateau, as her sous chef long before she attended that Cordon Bleu school. Oh yes, the chateau is what I called Mary and Uncle Jim's farm because it just was too fab to be called a farm. It became Donna's special sanctuary. Both her father and her godfather showered her with music and books, and she would sit on the stairs in our hall while I taught voice lessons. So despite her very logical mind, it was inevitable that she become a performer and not a lawyer, although she would have been a very good one. Because Jim and I were both working actors, one of us took her with us when we were both booked on gigs at the same time. And as a result, Donna gained an early profile in the industry, and she was asked to be an Ivory Snow baby at 11 months old. This was a big coup for that generation, to be an Ivory Snow baby. When you were 11 months, this is what you aspired to. Now, nothing has changed, by the way, in 45 years. When the gold chain bedecked director, where am I? I've lost my, yeah. Here I am. When the gold chain bedecked director ordered the mother off the set, Donna began wailing as I left, and she climbed over the edge of the tub, which was elevated on a 2-foot platform, and fell to the studio floor before I could race back to catch her. End of Ivory Snow career. Now, on the other hand, she had a great director for the Tang commercial. Could we just see that again? Because everyone was talking and I don't think you heard it when it was on.
If I could wish for just one wish, I would wish for simply this, to pick an apple from my tree, made for sipping just for me.
Instead of juice, try new Tang apple flavor crystals with vitamin C added. A brand new Tang with fresh picked apple taste.
Okay. Total magic. That was her code word. So, all right. Donna did a lot of traveling, even before she was on the Renfest circuit. When I was booked to do theater out of town, she joined me as soon as the rehearsal period ended and stayed with me for the run, because then I was home all day. However, when she was 22 months old, we both flew to Victoria, BC, and she was with me from start to finish. This is where she began, at 22 months, her toilet training. In a hotel room. There was a babysitter provided for rehearsal and performance times, and she was usually sleeping when I got home after midnight usually. However, at 5 a.m. every morning, she would rattle the sides of her crib and yell the magic words, "Poopy, Mommy, poopy," and I was up like a shot. I wrote Jim that only one of us would make it back alive. Now you know the provenance of that phrase. We also drove to Winnipeg many times, and we had picnics going and coming and picked blueberries en route. As she was older now, in the theater, she tended to play in the costume department. She became a baby Ababoo princess when I did Kismet. She learned everyone's lines in Mame and Annie, and she was ready to step in for anyone who got sick. She had learned to read by playing Anne when we read Anne of Green Gables every bedtime before I left for the theater. And she displayed a very strong talent for drama by grabbing my leg when I had to leave for work and wailing, "Don't go, Mommy, don't go." I was losing the battle for law. We also drove to and from Nova Scotia many times, memorably for the Mon reunion. In Great Village, where the famous Great Village boat race took place. Videography and commentary by Uncle Jim, starring James Davy, who won the race.
A lot of keen competitors here. Banks are lined with interesting
And
spectators,
with a
interested
soggy
spectators.
cameo
And interesting.
from Donna. There she is on the far side.
Competition will be fierce.
Who lost a shoe? We'll see that in just a second.
There's the big
While
boat,
falling in the river, there she is falling in the river.
a
But,
assorted craft.
but her missing shoe was graciously declared a contender by Uncle Jim. There's Donna.
Duck is lagging.
I don't know whose boat that is. Whose boat is that? Oh, it's Vicky's.
We're going to have to move ahead here. His boat well on the lead. Followed by some little boat.
Is that the shoe following the boat? Oh my God, I never noticed that before.
It may win.
There it is, you can see it. Oh my God, that's the first time I've seen it. All right. The true story of the Great Village boat race. All right. Phew, I'm exhausted. We also drove a lot to Highland dance competitions all over Ontario, lots of trophies, and to swim meets all over Toronto. Butterfly champ for 3 years running. We drove to PEI for Anne of Green Gables, and Donna attended the theater school for the summer. She already knew the lines from Anne, if you recall. When she met the challenge of playing in the Kiwanis Music Festival, she earned the right to her own piano teacher, the wonderful Joan Day, and not just her mom. That was a step up to study with Joan. And there were tap and jazz dance and skating classes, and of course she was acting at both the University of Windsor and Humber. So despite the encouragement of her high school law teacher, her destiny was already set. Donna's love of livestock began early. Her asthma made dogs and cats an issue, but she had turtles, ducks, who all met unfortunate ends, both in my pool and at the Renaissance fairs, where she collected a cage full of them. They were eaten by a fox, just so that you... I know, very sad, lots of feathers. Besides the turtles and the ducks, there were fish, lots of bunnies, and GP, the guinea pig, from Hammy the hamster, who turned out to be Mrs. GP. And he met an unfortunate end too, or rather she. First transgender duck. Whatever. So when Donna got her first dog from the Humane Society, Zach, he was the love of her life. Her companion and protector on the long drives, crisscrossing the U.S. from one fair site to the next. She was now not only driving a succession of trucks, which Auntie Carrie and Uncle Brian and Uncle Philip helped support, as well as me, yeah. But she was hauling one of her succession of trailer homes. As constant repairs were expensive, she learned to service them both herself. Donna had many personas, even before she developed her Ren Fair characters. She was Charity, very apt, in The Limey Birds on YouTube, and Scarlett Leterre, the other woman, on the videos. She also had a few that I didn't know about when she was doing stand-up here in Toronto. Yes, well, you may laugh. And that nefarious person who's sitting right behind you. Auntie Carrie called her Pussy Willow, and she was always angel-faced to me. Her care of me when I suffered my stroke 4 years ago was extraordinary. She simply stepped up. She took charge of everything. She was there every day in the hospital. While at the Ren Fair, on the Ren Fair circuit, she had 10 magical years of living the life. Few touched as many people as she did with her sparkle, her humor, her beauty, and mostly her love. She made all of us and the world a better and brighter place. This magical life stopped 3 years ago, as most of you know, when the lump in her knee went undiagnosed for want of an MRI. Finally, at Christmas at the chateau, my nephew's mate, Mark Hendricks, I can't see again. He looked at her knee and pushed us into action immediately. With help from our doctor's U.S. contacts, we drove to Buffalo for the MRI, and everything moved fast after that. We also had constant support from the MUGA team, Doctors Henry and Liz. Where's Liz? Oh, there she is. You were a godsend, my darling. And from Cousin Betty for the duration of this 3-year journey. Which Donna faced not only with amazing courage, but with grace and humor. Damn it, I can't read. She was beautiful and enchanting to begin with, but she became even more so as this journey wound to an end. It's no wonder everyone who ever worked with her, watched her perform, or even just knew her, fell in love with her. But Michael, Michael was the one. That was obvious from the very first time Donna invited me down to the coveted basement apartment with the fireplace. to meet him. Yes, which I did. Shush, this is my speech. I didn't hear that, and I'm not going to. No repeats. The marvelous Zach had been replaced by Duchess, and Donna had achieved most of the goals she had set for her life, and more. Thank you, Michael. That's it.
It takes many nails to build a crib, but just one screw to fill it.